Andrew Wilson is an online political commentator known for debating cultural, political, and social issues. He's risen in prominence in conservative circles over the last few years, and it can't be denied that this is in large part due to his aggressive debate style and fearless confrontational attitude. Andrew has taken part in dozens of debates with the likes of leftists, secular humanists, atheists, Muslims, feminists, as well as fellow conservatives and fellow Christians, and he most assuredly views himself as unstoppable in the arena of verbal combat. But for those paying close enough attention, it's apparent that Andrew's notoriety is built on nothing more than bluster and sophistry. Andrew Wilson is not the next intellectual giant of our generation. He's a petulant, belligerent, and rationally impotent interlocutor who just happens to employ a few effective and intimidating debate tactics that successfully conceal his web of contradictory, vacuous, and ungrounded beliefs. In this video, I'm going to walk you very carefully through Andrew's dishonest and deceitful debate tactics that create the illusion of his supposed rational superiority. Despite what many believe, Andrew's commonly employed method of debate is fallacious, and we can demonstrate that objectively. And on top of this, we'll survey how the standards of intellectual discourse that Andrew requires of his interlocutors are violated by him at every turn. Andrew Wilson is, on top of being a deceptive debater, also a hypocrite and a charlatan. Alright, let's get into the substance. Let's begin with Andrew's dishonest and fallacious debate tactics. After watching hours upon hours of Andrew's interactions and debates, which is a form of torture I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy, I began to notice a pattern in how he approaches most of his debates and how he goes about maneuvering and positioning himself dialectically so as to gain and uphold the upper hand in his debates. Let's examine a specific debate of Andrew so that we can dissect and illuminate the tactic in real time. A little over a year ago, Andrew debated atheist Mark Reed on the topic of which is better for society, Christianity or secular humanism. Mark took the position that secular humanism is better for society, and Andrew, of course, affirmed the position that Christianity is better for society. Let it be noted that both parties have a burden of proof here. Both Andrew and Mark have an obligation to justify their position and demonstrate its truth. But to anyone who had the patience to sit through this 7-hour debate, yes, 7 hours, they might have noticed that Andrew had a very peculiar strategy throughout the debate. See, very early on in the debate, Andrew told Mark to just assume, for the sake of argument, that Andrew's position was false. That is, Andrew supposedly conceded his position to Mark by tentatively constructing a dialectical facade that Christianity was false and that Andrew's position was ultimately subjective in his grounding of ethics.
But you still won't tell me where your morals come from. You're just saying, hey, I go to myself, which I know is not the case because that would not make you a Christian.
To Andrew.
I don't understand. I can argue Christianity being good for society and not even be a Christian, Mark. Did you know that? I could. And so the thing is, it's like none of that. And where I draw my morality from, I was even willing in the best faith to cede that Christians are delusional and still the outcomes for society by following Christian ethics are better. And then I gave you an example, which you still haven't answered to.
Now, upon first glance, this might not appear to be a major problem. Andrew is merely making a rhetorical point, right? Well, no. What Andrew's doing is actually deceptive and fallacious. See, by erecting a fake position and supposedly conceding to Mark that his position is illusory, Andrew is, number one, avoiding his obligation to prove his own claims, and two, makes it impossible for his interlocutor, Mark, to perform an internal critique. In case you're unaware, performing internal critiques is Andrew's MO. I'll admit that he's quite skilled at it, but Andrew's dishonest debate tactic is to perform internal critiques of his opponent's position while making it impossible for his opponent to perform one on his position. See, by supposedly conceding his position to his opponent from the get-go and failing to uphold the proposition he's actually there to defend, Andrew's interlocutor is unable to perform an internal critique of his position. That is, Andrew is attempting to tie both of his opponent's hands behind their back through deceptive means. Now again, you might wonder, well, what's the problem with this? That's just a debate strategy and Andrew's pretty good at it. It should be Andrew's opponent's job to weed through the rhetoric and attack Andrew's position. Well, first, how can Andrew's opponent actually attack Andrew's position if he's deceptively taking on a position that he doesn't actually hold? And second, and more importantly, Andrew is engaging in a fallacy. He's shifting the burden of proof. By adopting a fake position that he doesn't hold to and supposedly conceding to his interlocutor, Andrew never has to shoulder his burden of proof. He can just shrug off all attempts to defend his position by claiming, "I already conceded my position to my opponent," and fallaciously place the burden back on his opponent. Again, this is not an astute and innovative debate strategy. No, it's fallacy, plain and simple. And what makes it worse is that Andrew never lets up with this fallacious practice. He just plays this deceptive card the entire debate so that he never has to defend his position.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The argument here is very simple. Whether or not Mark can demonstrate how secular humanism is actually better for society than Christian ethics. It's very simple. Here's what Mark has determined for you, right? Andrew's delusional because he believes in this fictitious God character. Sure, I'll even see that the possibility of that is true. I'll just cede it for the purpose of the debate, which I've done multiple times. He keeps on asking me where I get the odd, but without God, just get it from me, just like he does. He says, okay.
You got it. This one
Can you
comes.
show me it's subjectively wrong?
What's that, Mark?
Can you show me it's subjectively wrong?
Mark, I would never. Me is the ultimate arbiter of morality. Everything I say is what's objectively wrong or right. I think it's
Okay, so you're
objectively
just going
wrong
to
that you
dodge the
exist.
question by misrepresenting your own position. Interesting.
Mark, I've been representing my whole position the entire time. I have taken the
Really?
role of the delusion. I've accepted. I've seen the light that I'm delusional. But how, even if I'm delusional, if I want all of my policies enforced on society, you never did demonstrate why that would be wrong, Mark.
Oh,
Never
it's because
once.
people under delusion, false
Now,
witness.
Mark,
Oh, so
can
you're
you answer
telling
my
the truth,
question
or
now?
you're just lying
I
completely?
just answered your question. I adopted a position for the purposes of a debate. That's how you do logical
which
debate.
you're now
Mark,
breaking.
I didn't
now,
break
which you're now
anything.
breaking.
I never broke
you have
anything.
multiple times during
I
this.
literally
yes.
never broke anything. I adopted the
Yeah.
position that I'm willing to accept for the position of the debate that I was a delusional Christian, just so you could show me how Christianity is bad for society.
the
and you
reason
couldn't. You couldn't,
The
Mark.
reason why Wilson adopts this position is because
because
he
you can't
cannot
falsify
actually
it.
defend his own. So unable to.
Mark articulated the issue right at the end of that last clip. He said the reason why Wilson adopts this position is because he cannot actually defend his own. This is precisely correct. Again, Andrew adopts a fake position so that he never has to shoulder his burden of proof, and he can fallaciously shift this burden to his opponent. And despite Andrew's fallacious and deceptive dialectical tap dance, he had the audacity to say this during the debate.
On videos like that one. with
James,
Andrew.
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Imagine being so good faith that you're actually willing, if your opponent says your position is completely false, to literally grant that to them. To literally grant to them, you're right, my position is totally false. Now to the meat of the thing we're talking about, can you show me your social prescriptions being better now that I've granted my entire worldview is false? And they still can't fucking do it, and they say that you are the one who's being bad. Can you even imagine the cognitive dissonance of a moron who does that?
I don't think I've ever witnessed such a mixture of arrogance and sophistry on display. Andrew Wilson's rhetorical grandstanding even makes Jay Dyer appear to be benign. The fact of the matter is that Andrew is in no way engaging in good faith dialogue. He adopts a false position so that he can avoid his burden of proof and so that he can shift that burden to his opponent, thereby rendering them unable to perform an internal critique of Andrew's position, because Andrew has no position to perform an internal critique of. If there's one word to describe this tactic, it's dishonest, and if there's another, it's fallacious. Now, please don't assume what I've illuminated in this debate of Andrew's is an isolated incident that has been cherry-picked. No, Andrew utilizes this deceptive tactic ubiquitously. He's the poster boy for fallaciously shifting the burden of proof. Take Andrew's debate with secular humanist Craig McNeil. The debate was, again, regarding which is better for society, Christianity or secular humanism. In Andrew's opening, instead of defending his position that Christianity is better for society, Andrew, again, adopted a position that wasn't his own. The tenets of secular humanism are laid out in a humanist manifesto, so Andrew wrote his own version of the humanist manifesto and required that Craig refute it.
You can leave. It's fine.
Let's launch into my new and improved humanist manifesto. Craig will be unable to refute any of my prescriptions based on his manifesto if he only uses his manifesto. Instead, he will require a normative framework to supplement that manifesto. He has to do this because without using the manifesto, what are we even arguing about? Craig will not be able to refute a single prescriptive claim I've made by using his manifesto. All of my prescriptive claims are humanist claims, and this is why humanism is the flat earth of ethical systems, and that's what Craig is. You're a moral flat earther.
So again, Andrew is assuming a humanist position during this debate and not his actual position of Christian nationalism. And during the debate, Craig somewhat understood Andrew's tactic and attempted to pin him down on his actual position and not the facade he had constructed. But Andrew wiggled free, as he normally does, and fallaciously placed the burden back on Craig.
Great time to ask the question.
What I'm going to ask you, Andrew, is
Spurgeon,
because
Craig.
you failed to do that in your opening, could you explain to us why Christianity is better for society?
Yeah.
Instead of just
Yeah,
attacking
here.
your own views of society.
So let's make this really simple,
Yeah.
right? So Craig says here, he says, well, that's your interpretation of the Humanist Manifesto. You see the problem?
Yeah,
Everybody's
that
going
wasn't
to
the
have an
question.
interpretation of the Humanist Manifesto. Thus, if everybody has an interpretation of the Humanist Manifesto, including me, we can make prescriptions based on it, Craig. So now I'm making prescriptions based on the Humanist Manifesto for what? Society. Okay? You are asking about Christianity. I told you that Christian ethics are better for society because I can refute the prescriptions made in the Humanist Manifesto that I just made in the Humanist Manifesto. You, Craig, cannot refute a single prescription I made off a single tenet in the Humanist Manifesto using your own manifesto. Do you understand that?
Yes, Andrew,
The fact that individuals in the audience were applauding Andrew here without realizing that he, one, never answered Craig's question, and two, fallaciously shifted the burden of proof, demonstrates that, unfortunately, tribalism trumps rationality. And again, there's countless more examples of Andrew employing his deceit, and some examples that are even more egregious. Andrew assumed the same deceptive practice in his debate with Matt Dillahunty, and we'll cover Andrew's petulant debate with Dillahunty in more depth later on in this video. In Andrew's debate with influencer Naima on the Whatever podcast, the only podcast platform that guarantees aneurysms upon viewing, they spent an entire 3 hours discussing the grounding of rights. And any time Naima attempted to ascertain Andrew's position on the matter and have him defend said position, Andrew would fail to answer any questions and would shift the burden of proof. Credit to Naima, she was clever enough to decipher Andrew's weaselly debate tactic. Watch this montage of clips of Naima pressing Andrew to satisfy his burden and defend his position, only for Andrew to sidestep and dodge every time.
To men for the rights collectively.
Okay, so do you believe that anybody has like inherent rights? Are there any inherent human rights regardless of
Unless
strength?
you can ground them in God, I don't believe that you can ground rights in anything. And if you can, go ahead and do so.
Okay, so then based on your religion, what are the inherent rights that humans
Well,
have?
first, I need you to understand what the criticism is. So when I say to you, I don't believe that you can ground rights absent religion, do you agree that that's true or false?
Are you going to keep asking me, or are you
Yes.
going to actually like make an opinion? This is what you do, Andrew. You
Yes, it
ask
is.
questions and questions and questions so
So
that you don't actually have to form an opinion
that's
and
great.
defend it.
That's great. So
Stop
what do you
using
ground-
descriptive arguments.
what do you ground
Make
morality?
an opinion.
What do you ground
Do you
morality
believe
in?
that humans have
What do you
inherent
ground
value?
morality in?
Do you believe that humans have inherent
We
value?
can't go anywhere with the debate unless you can tell me what you ground morals in.
But why don't you give an opinion on your actual belief?
Because right now I'm just trying to figure out what the terms are for rights themselves, so we don't equivocate.
Do you not know what rights are?
I don't
The
know what you
opposite of
think they
left.
are. What are
Like,
they?
Please,
Can I
one at a
just
time.
Go ahead.
You're
Go ahead,
arguing
and then
on
Andrew,
a
you respond.
definition because you don't want to actually have to defend your opinion. So, Andrew, how do you define morality? Like, how do you define morality? If you don't want to keep dealing with my stupid opinions on the basic definitions of words that you know we both understand, how do
We
you
don't
define
both understand them.
Okay, then give me your definition. How do you
Why does
define
my
morality?
definition help your definition?
Because you refuse to agree to my definition.
I'm not
So-
going to until you give me a
Andrew,
coherent
you
one.
don't want to give an opinion. You are so afraid of sharing
We're
an
gonna
opinion.
start first with something that's
How do
coherent.
you define morality?
It does-
Andrew, all you want to do is have a descriptive argument. I want to actually hear your
Listen,
opinion.
the semantics are important to the
No,
debate.
dude.
Yes, dude.
Brian, what time is it?
4:15.
I'll sit
Okay,
here all day
so
and
we've
do
been
this.
arguing
I'm telling you right
semantics-
now, we're not moving past this until
No,
you
Andrew,
can
but what
give
is
me
the
the
point
grounded
of this?
claim.
It's pointless.
It's the most
It
pointed.
is pointless. You
You're
want to do
just
this
trying
all
to
day
evade.
because you are afraid of voicing
Then
your own
all you have
opinion
to do
and
is
having
tell me how
defend
you
it.
ground rights.
So now, what is your definition
Then
of morality?
ground it.
Do you believe there's inherent morality? Answer
What-
a question,
Why
Andrew.
would it matter?
Answer.
I applaud Naima for her patience in dealing with Andrew's sophistry, because clearly debating Andrew Wilson is like nailing Jello to a wall. Just when you attempt to pin him down on a position he signed up to defend, he evades the questions and fallaciously shifts the burden back to his interlocutor. In fact, Andrew just displayed this deceptive practice in his recent debate with Candace Owens. Towards the end of the debate, Candace very explicitly asked Andrew which charges he believed Tyler Robinson was guilty of. It soon became apparent that Andrew couldn't answer this question because he didn't know any of the 7 charges to which Robinson was being charged. And like a moth to flame, Andrew then pivoted and placed the burden back on Candace and relentlessly required that she list the charges out, despite the fact that she was the one who was originally prompting Andrew to answer specific questions.
If I may ask a question, is that permitted?
Go ahead.
Just so I also have clarity, since your basis has been evidentiary, you keep saying that you have evidence or like you are following evidence. Which one of the charges against, or all of them, do you think Tyler Robinson is guilty of?
The specific charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but of the 7 charges that he's being charged.
Yeah, can we list them real quick? I'll tell you exactly which ones. We'll pull them up.
Well, do you know any of the charges that he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course. But
Can
I
you-
want to
can you
make sure
name
that we
one?
have them listed.
Yeah, but like can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not
Is
following
that
the
it?
case.
That's the
Yeah.
question. You're
Yeah,
just
but-
not
but
following it
seems,
enough.
It seems pretty, like, if you're going to engage and you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty, I just think that you should, like,
All right.
can you tell me one
Then let's do the
charge
counter.
that he's...
You can really, no, this is a great gotcha.
No. You just got to ask me, play
Yeah.
clips out of context,
Yeah,
put me
yeah.
in the hot seat. So please just answer the
This
question.
is fair.
Can
Name
you
all
name,
7
can
since you've been following the case.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
You name one.
Yeah, you named all 7.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
He doesn't even. This is like.
Name all 7.
And I.
Can you
think
name all 7?
I can.
Then do it.
Candace would indeed go on to name all 7 charges and make Andrew look quite foolish. So kudos to Candace for being prepared for this portion of the debate, because she held her ground even in the face of Andrew's dialectical bullshit. Now then, what we've seen so far is that Andrew relies on debate tactics that exemplify dishonesty and fallacious practices. However, what's even more telling is the way in which Andrew displays his own hypocrisy when speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Recall from earlier in the video that one way in which Andrew evades his burden of proof is to adopt a position that he doesn't actually hold, so that his opponents have no access to his internal framework from which to provide a critique. But considering this, Listen to the things Andrew articulates that portray his own debate practices.
That's not my question. That's not my question. Answer my question. Don't be bad faith. Do you want a...
That can be morality through a social contract.
I'm not interested in all
That can be morality through creating an egalitarian society
not
that is
interested
functioning.
at all in possibilities. I'm interested in the one that you have.
These aren't possible. I mean,
can you tell
any
me what
and all of them.
I just want to know what you ground rights in. So anyway, back to this though. I was trying to give you the example so I could clarify the position. I want to try to have a good faith debate. I don't know why you refuse to clarify your positions for me.
I just clarified my position.
Okay,
for you. So now clarify
so
yours
is
for me.
it?
First of all, hearing Andrew Wilson claim that he wants to have a good faith debate is downright laughable given his well-documented petulant demeanor. Anyone with any modicum of rational awareness knows that Andrew doesn't walk into debates with the intention of discussing things in good faith. He's a blood sport debater who only wants to win. Second, and back to the main point, Andrew bemoans the fact that he can't ascertain his interlocutor's position despite constant requests from him to do so. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Gee, Andrew, I wonder why it's important to clearly and unambiguously understand your opponent's position. Also, in one of those clips with Naima, Andrew explicitly claims that he's not interested in different possibilities of grounding rights, but is instead only interested in Naima's actual position, despite the fact that in that debate she was upfront and cooperative in defining her terms and articulating her position. But the point is that Andrew wasn't interested in hypothetical beliefs and positions. Rather, he was specifically interested in his interlocutor's actual position that they came to defend. Hypocrisy, thy name is Andrew Wilson. These are the exact claims that one could and should level against Andrew when he bobs and weaves when it comes to affirming his actual worldview. Andrew likes to take on positions that aren't indicative of his own in a debate so that he doesn't have to clarify his own beliefs and bear a burden of proof. But when he's attempting to argue against his opponent's worldview, he requires that they be upfront with their position, clarifying their terms to his satisfaction, and not entertain possibilities different from their actual position. This is simply not the way that intellectual discourse works. You don't get to hold your interlocutors to standards that you can't and don't abide by. But this is Andrew's MO. From the get-go of any debate, he attempts to seize control immediately. In fact, you'll notice that as soon as the open discussion portion of a debate begins, Andrew is usually the one to take hold of the questioning, and he's relentless at that endeavor. He does this primarily so that he can control the discussion. And why does Andrew want to control the discussion? Well, that's obvious, so that he can avoid his own burden of proof while simultaneously requiring that his opponents satisfy theirs. And if you attempt to interfere with Andrew's dishonest and deceptive debate strategy, he calls you bad faith and requires that you clarify your position to his satisfaction by answering his questions. And yet, considering all this, this isn't even the extent of Andrew's hypocrisy. Take a listen to what Andrew said recently on the Joe Rogan podcast.
And I've debated the most prominent secular humanists in the world.
Who's that?
Well, I did Matt Dillahunty. I've done several secular humanist debates. Matt Dillahunty was the funniest thing in the world. He rage quit in the first few minutes of the debate in my opening statement because I brought up this glaring contradiction in his worldview. I said, why should, so he was dating a he's dating a trans person, but he says he's not gay. Right? So I'm not gay, but I'm dating a trans person. So I brought this up and I said, the way that we can assess truth claims, I can just point an easy one out of how we can assess that maybe this isn't a good way to evaluate truth claims.
Right.
Because he says he's in a non-homosexual relationship with a trans woman and reconciles that by saying, no, that's a real woman. And I'm like, if we can't even distinguish what's real and what's true, how could you even have
rage quit off that?
Oh, he was so angry. He called me a bunch of names, got up and rage quit for me pointing out this glaring contradiction in his ideology. And
So, Andrew highlights the fact that during his debate with atheist Matt Dillahunty, Dillahunty quit the debate after Andrew's opening remarks regarding the supposed depravity of trans individuals. Dillahunty calmly articulated that he was not going to engage in a debate where the interlocutor was bad faith and had deceptive intentions, and Dillahunty subsequently walked off the stage. Given Andrew's remarks to Joe Rogan, Andrew seems to highlight Dillahunty's response as unhinged and non-exemplary, since Andrew was supposedly just stating facts and making logical arguments. But here's where Andrew's hypocrisy is made apparent. In Andrew's infamous debate with social influencer Charlie, she began to state facts about Andrew's personal life and his wife. Here's how it went.
So Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
Yes.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you you lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
What is that?
You're a
mean?
fucking dyke. Don't talk shit about my wife, you stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your stupid bitch mouth.
Your wife with the 3 baby
What did I
daddies?
just say, dyke?
Your wife with the 3
Sorry,
baby
I'm sorry,
daddies?
dyke. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your ditch licking?
Do the men that you try to
Do the women that you try
show
to
your hatred against?
Do you the
do
women
they,
that you try
convince them
to
that they shouldn't?
You know,
like,
Charlie, did I
pursue
bring
women? Do they know
Charlie,
that
did
your
I bring
wife
your
is 5
family?
years older?
Did I bring any of your
You
family
called me
into
fucking
anything?
stupid.
Did I
You
say
called
anything
me
about
fucking
your
stupid.
family being stupid, Charlie?
could.
It's
You could
because
go
I'm
for it.
better than you, Charlie.
No.
This is Andrew Wilson for you folks. This is the great blood sport debater who also supposedly desires good faith dialogue. Now notice that Charlie here was merely stating facts in order to lead up to a question she never got to ask. And after Andrew threw a tantrum, he subsequently asks if he ever brought Charlie's family into the debate, insinuating that doing so is impermissible or beneath him. Yet this is the very thing Andrew brags to Rogan about regarding his debate with Matt Dillahunty. Andrew made things personal in his debate with Matt Dillahunty, despite the fact that Andrew claims he was merely stating facts, just as Charlie was. So, either Andrew was well within the bounds of good faith intellectual discourse by bringing up facts that hit close to home for Matt Dillahunty, in which case so was Charlie, which makes Andrew's petulant tantrum a display in hypocrisy. Or Andrew knew that his statements in his debate with Matt Dillahunty were deceitful and bad faith, in which case he's still a hypocrite. There's so much more that could be said here. I originally planned on extending this video and going through Andrew's beliefs regarding ethics, logic, and Christianity itself with a fine-tooth comb in order to demonstrate that once one is able to actually ascertain Andrew's real beliefs, it's not difficult to find inconsistencies and refute them. And of course, there's even more to be said regarding the fact that Andrew is a self-identifying Christian, despite the fact that his actions prove that he's anything but. For as Jesus said, "You shall know them by their fruits." But maybe we'll leave that for a future video, because I, for one, have had enough of Andrew Wilson. Andrew is not some great orator or the next intellectual giant on the far right. He's a petulant weasel and a pretentious grandstander. He's also, quite frankly, a piece of shit human being who doesn't engage charitably with those he disagrees with. He doesn't value rationality, he values winning, plain and simple. He wants to win, because that's what his self-worth is tied up in. And he'll do whatever he needs to do to win, whether that's deceptively assuming a position he doesn't hold, failing to open his actual worldview to internal critique, fallaciously shifting the burden of proof to his interlocutor, or even attacking those same interlocutors personally. Dishonesty and sophistry is not beneath Andrew Wilson. It's who he is. But no need to worry. If Andrew views himself as some sort of dialectical Superman, we know his kryptonite. The pickle jar.
Sure.
It's all fucking
It's just
slick
for,
now.
it's a little,
See, it
little fun.
is.
I gotta grip it.
Uh-oh, Andrew. If you can't open it either, if you're so strong, you should open it.
Yeah, I gotta be able to grip it.
Okay, we'll grip it. Let's
It's
go.
literally slippery.
Uh-oh.